Mother Knows Death, starring Nicole and Jemmy and Maria Q. Kane.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Mother Knows Death. On today's episode, we are going to get into genetic tests like Ancestry or 23andMe that show people who have children they didn't know about, including a very famous father. Cyrus is accusing his ex of faking really serious things like cancer and pregnancy. I didn't realize who this chick was either, so that we're going to get into talking about that a little bit. Of course, we have to talk about Maria's favorite topic in the world, which is the Titanic submersible. There's new news coming out that it may have been a planned suicide. Did you hear that before today? I don't know. That's crazy. And the unusual effect Ozempic seems to be having on men's penises. All that and more on today's episode. Let's get started with this very famous dad who just found out that he's a dad again.
Okay, so Billy Idol has a new documentary coming out, and in it, he revealed that he found out in his 60s he had a third child. So all this time, he thought he was only the father of two kids, a boy and a girl, who are now in their mid-30s. So when his daughter became a mother, she got really interested in exploring their family tree. Her husband had bought her a gift for a 23andMe DNA kit, and then when she did it, she ended up pinging this brother.
Yeah, and so the brother at the same time, what was the question? He had a question of who his dad was too?
Yeah, so I guess when he did 23andMe prior to this, he found out that his biological father, who he thought was his biological father, was not. So then he asked his mom about it, and she said, well, I'm not really sure, but believe it or not, back in the 80s, I had a weekend with Billy Idol. And of course, if your mom's telling you something like that, you're probably like, you're totally making this up. Like, you wouldn't even believe it. But it turns out in this case, it was true.
The whole thing is so crazy to me because it's like, yeah, he said to his mom, like, is there anyone else it could be? Like, she didn't think that because he looks like him.
Yeah.
In the picture. Like, there was no thing that she was like, what? I don't know. He looks like a little bit like Billy Idol. I don't know. So, I mean, it's cool that he's like embracing him though 100% because sometimes you hear stories about that I just saw an article actually about Arnold Schwarzenegger had this photo with all of his kids on it, but like the other kid got snubbed. You know, the one with the
Well, I've talked about that many times on here before.
The one with the
cleaning lady.
With the cleaning lady. Yeah, so
the housekeeper. So yeah, I agree with you. I think it's super cool he's embracing it because his daughter has a couple kids and then his long lost son has a couple kids. So he's like fully embracing having a third child and being the grandfather to these grandkids he didn't know about either. So that's pretty cool. I mean, because this happens to a bunch of people and they want to act like it's not a thing.
I know it does. And I guess like being a married person to a guy, right? You're just kind of like, I guess this could just creep up any day. Like you don't really ever know, right?
Yeah.
It's like, it's kind of scary actually. There's really interesting things and like, what's up with 23andMe anyway? Because I got another email from them saying something about the bankruptcy thing. Like,
I think that another company just bought them out. So they're going to be taking over operations, or at least the data is going to be secure for some time, which is everybody's concern, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks because I think that it's a good tool, and it sucks that they can't get their shit together with that because I do think it's helpful. I mean, I'm sure that test is terrible for some people that find out, you know, I mean, like it worked out well in this case, but imagine thinking someone was your dad and your whole life and then finding out he's not your dad and stuff. Like people get devastating news all the time from it, but also like this woman found the brother and like the happy news comes out of it too. So it's just, I don't know. I think it's a good thing because it finds certain genes that people have and could tell you if you need to get screening for something. It's pretty cool.
You know what I was thinking though when I saw the sale? Weren't they at one time evaluated at like over $1 billion and then they only got sold? Now, I'm saying only, like I know this is a large amount of money, but they sold for about $200 million. So I just think it's kind of crazy that your company's worth so much money at one point and only a couple years later.
Well, they're probably giving it away for a good deal because I mean, think like with the data breach and all that shit, that's like all their money probably went to lawyers and stuff for all that stuff.
Oh yeah, it's
And
huge.
I mean, I just can't even fathom that amount of money when people just talk about like when you talk about like our country's debt and they say it's like trillions of dollars, like it's really hard to wrap your mind around that being actual money, like how much money that actually is
Oh yeah.
when you're like a regular person.
Well, obviously, and by saying $200 million isn't a lot. I mean, compared to the evaluation,
No,
I know
yeah, I
that's
get
like a
that.
crazy amount of money.
All
But
right, so let's get into this next story because this is like I didn't realize that this woman that Trey Cyrus dated for a couple years because I thought she looked familiar, and he said that she was a childhood star, so I looked it up to see who she was. I still don't really know who she was from a child.
well, this is more for my age group because she was big on Disney Channel. She was on The Sweet Life and Zack of Cody, which was a huge show when I was a little
Yeah, I don't
kid.
even know what those are.
So Trey Cyrus, who is Miley Cyrus's brother, and Brenda Song, who we're talking about in this story, were in an on and off relationship from 2010 to 2017 until she met Macaulay Culkin, who she's now engaged to and has kids with. So
So that's why I saw her because he recently didn't he just like this year get the Hollywood star? It was like this year or last year, and he went to that to go there, and she was with him because they have kids together.
well, she's not a nobody. She's in a really successful Netflix show called Running Point that just came out with Mindy Kaling and Kate Hudson. So she's not like this
No,
person that was a child star and irrelevant.
I'm just saying
but-
like I recognized her from being with him.
Yeah, so this is all really weird how this went down. So I guess somebody left a comment on Trace's Instagram saying, we know why Brenda left. And then he replied to the comment and said,
It
quote,
was triggering.
it really set him off, which was weird. So he replies to the comment and says, yes, because she stole thousands of dollars from me and faked multiple pregnancies and lied about being terminally ill to make my family and I think she had breast cancer and a brain tumor, but it was all a lie. She was humiliated to ever show her face around my family again once we figured it out, and my mom confronted her and called her out on it. Thanks for reminding me of another scenario where I was a great loving person and someone did me wrong for no reason. Then he follows it up with, oh, she also faked an abortion with fake blood covering the bathroom floor, and my mom and I rushed her to the OBGYN. That's when all her lies started unraveling and we realized it was fake.
He said that she had said that she got tumor to remove or had surgery to remove her brain tumors and went over their house and he ripped off her bandages and she had no surgery.
Yeah, so he
That's
leaves
that's like seriously pathologic.
So he leaves the comments that I just said, and then what you were saying, he then is like, I'm not done with this. So then he goes on his story and posts about this, how her faking the brain surgery. He also said, there's more proof of how fucked in the head child stars are. I hope she's doing better mentally. I think this is very surprising because in the past he's spoken about her pretty positively in the press. But I mean, I guess you don't want to air all your dirty laundry out to everybody. And why did this one comment just set him off on this rampage to finally reveal all of this after almost 10 years?
I don't know, but it's kind of juicy, honestly. Like that is like some psycho shit right there, for real.
If it's true.
If it's true. But I could kind of see, it's funny that Tish is getting involved in this because I could kind of visually picture it just because like I just see it. Like I see it. And it's interesting that he's calling her a child star and saying that she's screwed up because what perfect person to be with than Macaulay Culkin.
Well, yeah, that is a really interesting theory. I didn't even really think about that they're both like distressed child stars that are now together. But I think people have really been idolizing their relationship because they're kind of cute together and they have these cute little kids and they seem to have this loving relationship. Macaulay Culkin even made a guest appearance in the show she's in on Netflix, and it was funny.
Maybe she grew out of it.
How do you grow out of behavior like this?
I don't know. I mean, maybe this is like a weird thing too, dating an actress or an actor that they could totally like play off this role and get away with it. The abortion and the fake blood thing is really neat. Or miscarriage she had or an abortion. Whatever.
He said an abortion with fake blood Well, I feel like he
That's,
probably
like,
meant
psychotic.
miscarriage, because wouldn't that mean that she gave herself an abortion in their home bathroom?
Maybe. I mean, technically a miscarriage is called a spontaneous abortion, so.
Oh, I also wanted to say on last week's episode, I misspoke that Laura Michelle Owens was federally indicted. I meant she was indicted by the state, more specifically Maricopa County, where all the weird things happen in the world.
Wait, who are you talking
The
about?
fake pregnancy story we talked
Oh.
about last week.
So what did you say wrong?
I mistakenly said she was federally indicted. She was indicted, but by Maricopa County.
Oh, okay. Big
So-
mistake. Good thing
Well,
you cleared
somebody
that up
had
for
to
us.
point it out, so I was like, sorry. I misspeak sometimes. I'm a human. I do think this is interesting because, for all the reasons I said before, him speaking positively about her in the past, her being on this Netflix show, I feel like she's generally pretty well liked in the public eye, so I wonder how this is going to go down. I haven't seen her speak out about this at all. Why would you? I feel like either way,
you
how
would
are you
if
going
that
to win?
shit didn't happen.
Well, yeah.
Like if
but
somebody said that about me, I'd be like, okay, like you would fight back if that wasn't true.
it is juicy,
But like
though.
I said, I think she grew out of it. Now
And
she's
side note,
what?
I saw Trey Cyrus in Metro Station when I was 15 years old, and I hysterically cried when I took a picture with him.
Where's
like
the
loser
picture?
I am. Well, I had
It's on,
the
like, one of
razor
those-
back then.
I know. I have so many good pictures that I don't know where they're at. From that weird time period of like, okay, you didn't carry around a film camera anymore, but because you had like this shitty razor phone, There's like
Yeah.
that period of time from, let me think of what year, like 2005 to 2015, maybe you would say, like that 10-year period of just like, well, 15 is probably even early, but like when iPhones got so good and then you had the cloud and your pictures are safe. I had some weird digital camera. I don't know where the whole time I was at Drexel too, I can't find any of the pictures I took with my friends for like those 2 years.
Yeah, because when we had talked about the Devil Wears Prada drummer that died recently, I know for a fact I had a picture with him, but I took it probably on one of my earliest Nikons that you bought me, and I'm like, I have no idea where those pictures
Yeah, because remember
are.
you had to put it like on the card and you had to put it on your computer, and then you get a new computer and then it's like it's not anywhere.
Yeah,
It
exactly.
just sucks. Okay, so finally, like Maria, I know you've been dying to talk about this all week. The Titanic submersible. Now there's like this drama associated with it.
So I could not wait for this documentary, as I've talked about a lot on here, and then I watched it as soon as I could Wednesday night, the day it came out, and then of course afterwards I just had a million nightmares about the cruise going on. I thought they were different enough that it wouldn't bother me. I hate to say it, but I think the documentary left a lot to be desired. I didn't think it was that crazy. I didn't think it had any information. But this article we were talking about is about this book that came out recently, basically suggesting that Stockton Rush was on a suicide mission by going down there and knew what he was doing, and this
And this
person's
is, like-
accusing him of being a murderer.
But this person's like one of his best friends, right?
Yeah, so this book is called Submersed: Wonder, Obsession, and Murder in the World of Amateur Submarines, written by Carl Stanley. So he's an expert in commercial submersibles, and he was a good friend of Stockton Rush. So they actually covered in the Netflix documentary that this guy had gone on one of the test dives in the Bahamas, and he had written this email to Stockton Rush afterwards telling him he had like serious concerns with the vessel. And of course, because you're dealing with an absolute asshole narcissist, he was like, nothing's wrong with it. You don't know what you're talking about. So that's kind of what the documentary revealed the whole time, is that anytime an employee spoke out about the safety issues or things that could go wrong, they just got fired. So you want to think that somebody could be held criminally liable for this, but Stockton Rush seems to be the only person that could have been held responsible for it, because everybody else truly had their ass covered.
So his friend honestly believes that he wanted to kill himself and he wanted to go down in history with this like big dramatic event that was also connected to the Titanic. So every time you talk about the Titanic, you'll be like, oh, remember that guy? He died in the submersible. Like, it's kind of a good theory, honestly. Like, it sounds believable for how this guy was.
Yeah, so the quotes from this article from Carl Stanley were Rush's ego was so big he was willing to die and kill to be pivotal to the character in the story. Then he also said he wanted to die at the wreck of the Titanic. The more high profile, the better. He didn't just murder 4 wealthy people and get paid a cool mill to do it. They're all part of the Titanic mythology now. So that really is interesting because his wife had family ties to the Titanic, and he was so interested in this. He was on this mission to make this work. And the sad part is, I think he could if he did it the right way. But I think this hot term everybody's using right now is a disruptor, right? I think he wanted to be this disruptor in the submersible industry by making this new vessel out of this unexplored material. But this is ultimately what bit him in the ass.
Well, or he did it on purpose.
Or he did it on purpose.
I don't know. Yeah. I mean, like, it's kind of weird to think that you have a best friend and then they write a book about you when you die and saying, like, things.
You're a dick.
Yeah, exactly. Like, it's kind of interesting.
I don't know. Like, other things from the documentary I took that were interesting was that Boeing was helping out with making him at first. And then
You didn't see you really like slacked this week when we were talking about in the last episode the Indian airplane, because that was a Boeing. I didn't hear you say anything about it.
Well, I'm trying not to get sued in some regard, but like,
That's just fact. It was like, what are
I'm
you
a
gonna,
Boeing truther, and I have been for a decade. So you heard it here first. Maybe that's a merch we can make. That's definitely grounds for a lawsuit. But
yeah, and also like, so now that you're a Boeing truther, don't you think that there's anything a little sus about the guy that came out of the ball of flames wearing a white T-shirt on his phone?
well,
I'm
yeah,
just putting it out there.
I think statistically, or maybe not statistically, I think PR wise, Boeing's been having a problematic last couple of years, and this incident with the Dreamliners really not helping out that happened in India. And then, I'm watching this documentary about a submersible, and oh, look, it turns out they were helping them at first. I don't believe they helped construct the Titan, but they were working with OceanGate at some point in time. Another thing that was interesting was apparently they had these microphones planted all over the vessel so that they could hear the cracks. And by the end of it, the guy was just like, I don't even want to hear the cracks. Like, my thing's perfect. So,
Well,
and then by the end of it, they interviewed this YouTuber that was supposed to go on the Titan, and the weather was bad, so the trip got rescheduled, and he couldn't go on the rescheduled trip. And then a couple days later is when the implosion happened. So he, in theory, would have been on the fatal trip.
yeah, hearing stories like that sometimes when you're like, well, that even happened to us that time that our apartment blew up. I don't even know if we ever told that story, but our apartment blew up one day that we had just moved out of, and it happened on like a Saturday at 3 o'clock. And if we had not moved out and moved into Gabe's house, then like we would have been there during the day, because typically like when I was working at the hospital from like 9 to 5, whatever, it would be like the weekends, especially on Saturdays, once we got all our errands done and stuff, like we would just chill and like maybe watch a movie or just like hang out, and we would have been there when it blew up. And like when you hear about those stories, you're just like, you really believe in fate sometimes when you hear stuff like that.
Speaking of 9 to 5, I was talking to my friend Amanda about Lou Bert's dance recital over the weekend, and she said they had done Dolly Parton's 9 to 5 when she was in dance, and they had suitcases that when they turned them around, it said 9 to 5 on them.
That's
It spelled
amazing.
it out.
I love
know.
that.
I was like, I need video and picture of this immediately. It sounds cool. But yeah, I mean, this is the classic case of a guy that really, I kind of feel like Mark Zuckerberg's like this too. Like, my product is perfect. Nobody could tell me what to do. I know what I'm doing. You don't know anything. And then look what happens. Like, all these people are dead. And
Yeah.
you look like an idiot at the end of the day. He did, if what his friend is saying is true, that he wanted to be part of the Titanic lore, then I guess his dream came true.
It kind of like really, it kind of makes sense. I don't think it's far-fetched at all.
No, I just think it's like crazy. I agree with you. It's crazy that your friend would say something like that, but if it's true, it's true. This episode is brought to you by The Gross Room.
So speaking of the Titanic submersible, we did a high-profile death dissection on that. Was that like 2 years ago already?
Yeah, we did it right when
Jeez.
it happened in June 2023.
Yeah, so it was cool though. And this was before they even really talked about how the people died, but I think that we pretty much nailed it from the beginning. So if you guys want to read that, it's 2 parts, right? Or
I
maybe
think
not,
it's one. I think it's one really
like a
long
really
one
big one. Oh God.
because remember I went to Tennessee the day after we wrote it, and then the Titanic Museum in Pigeon Forge was like popping. Everybody had
Yeah,
this
yeah,
like
yeah.
new interest in it.
Yeah, so with that documentary just coming out, we decided to write one about the original an orig case of a similar type of death, which was the Byford dolphin situation, the with the divers back in the early 80s. I think it was
83.
1983. Yeah, so we're doing a 2-part dissection on that this week. So this week Maria started with just some of the facts about the case, and we really go through all of it, like exactly what happened, and then we try to break down, for example, like why they were even there, because it's confusing to a layperson to read some of that stuff. So we really spent all day kind of going through that and figuring that out for the part 1, and then part 2 is going to be all of the autopsies and like what did their bodies look like? How did they die? What did the medical examiner see when they performed the autopsies on these people? So that'll be coming out next week, so check that out.
Yeah, head over to thegrossroom.com to sign up.
All right, let's talk about Ozempic.
I was just sometimes we alternate who starts the story after the ad, and I was about to say that same exact sentence. Okay, so people are using Ozempic, and we're starting to see some of the other side effects it's having besides, weight loss and treatment for diabetes. But one of the new side effects is that it's apparently making men's penises larger.
The most disturbing part of this story is that all of these guys are saying, "Oh, it's grown 1.5 inches. It's grown since last time I measured it. This, that, and the other." And you're just like, this is like specific to men, right? Because like the women would never pull out a tape measure or a ruler and like measure the size of their body part like that, would they?
No, of course,
It's
because it
so
doesn't matter.
It's so weird. It's like weird. And it's even more weird that guys are doing it multiple times throughout their life to see if it's changing in size. And I'm telling you, the Ozempic has nothing to do with your dick size. It's because of your pubic mound. Do you know your mons pubis? It stands for pubic mound. It's so gross. It just reminds me of like a pitcher's mound or something. That's over top of your pubic bone, but that's fat. It's there to protect your pelvis, right? It's like a big ball of fat there. So when you get fat, it gets bigger and then your penis starts sinking into it. There's a thing called hidden penis. Like it could get all the way hidden inside of there with obesity, especially like really high BMIs and stuff, like dudes can't even see their penis.
Well, what do you say to the one that argued that point to say he measured himself when he was skinnier and he has definitely gained an inch?
He's wrong. It's just not. It's just not like and like if you think about it, like if it depends on like what kind of ruler you use, how much you push it in. Like if you really go, not to get graphic, but if you go on like a guy's mons pubis and really push it down, you could give them like another 5 inches, like, right? It's just not 5 inches, but half an inch. Like, do you know what I mean? Like you can make it bigger or smaller depending on how you're looking at it.
Well, how
Because
much
it goes
money?
kind of deep down into there, you know?
How much money do you think Ozempic's going to be getting in research now? Now that it is potentially helping men have bigger dicks.
Oh, God. The, people are going nuts buying this shit anyway, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it'll be for the side effects of it now. Like, men just want to go on it because I don't think that there's any clinical or scientific evidence that says that it's making their penises bigger. One thing to take into consideration is, especially with the obesity, with the drug working, it's improving blood flow, and that could have something to do with it too, that they're just getting stronger erections, which would make the penis seem bigger than it is. But it's not, there's no evidence to suggest that anything in it is actually growing their penis.
So ridiculous.
It really is.
Okay, so a TikToker is claiming that after buying a bag of mixed nuts from Costco, she found live worms crawling out of the nuts.
So last week it was the oat milk. This week it's the Costco nuts. And there are, like, the video is disturbing. You see live worms in it. Like, it is gross.
It is, but I want to just say, like, she's saying nowhere on it does it say it could possibly contain bugs. That's insane. Like, why would it? And it's also something that grows from the earth. So, like, there is the potential,
There
no?
is. And like I sent you a picture last week that I had. So I had a head of broccoli that, but it came from like Amazon Fresh or whatever, and it was in a plastic bag when I got it. So all I did was I like rinsed it under the sink real quick and I cut it up and I boiled it and made it for dinner. So Lucia is like getting ready to bite into this floret and she's like, "What is this?" And I look at it close and it was like a little tiny white worm. It's
Ew.
probably like a caterpillar thing. It wasn't like a maggot. It looked
That's what
like,
I thought it was when you sent me the
oh,
picture.
I don't think so. I think it was like a little caterpillar thing. So and like clearly wherever it got picked, it got stuck in a bag and it was just there, right? But like, and obviously none of us wanted to eat it because I'm like, I didn't like, when there's never one bug. There's never one bug, right? So my whole thing is like, oh my God, like I didn't see them enough to rinse off it and get them off. And like there's more in this food and I don't want to eat this food. Cause I had mixed after I boiled it up, I like mixed it in the sauce of the thing I was making. And like nobody wanted to eat after that because we're like, there's worms including me. Um, but that like I don't get upset about that because I'm just like this thing grows outside and there's bugs. Like there's bugs all over my plants outside all the time. There's unless you like spray the shit out of them with pesticides, they're not going to go away, and you don't really want that stuff on your food anyway. Um, and like the thing is like if one of them has eggs, when it gets into the bag, then all of a sudden you have a colony, right? And that's probably what happened in this case. But it's just so gross to see it.
Yeah, it's gross. I just think like things like this can happen with food. I don't know. It's disgusting and it bothers me, but it's not that far fetched that it could
Yeah, and she
happen.
was posting like it not being expired. I don't think the expiration has anything to do with it. It probably
No.
was fresh, but like you have an ecosystem in there where like animals could thrive because they have something to eat off of. So they could just keep on reproducing and living there. I mean it is nasty for sure, but we
All right,
eat
well,
bugs all the time.
yeah, and we just don't know.
Do you know one of my when I took biology when I was in college, one of my teachers, he said that one of his friends had a job where he would look at ketchup under the microscope all day and count how many bug parts per million were under the microscope. He was a scientist and that's what he did for a living.
That's disgusting.
Because like because there was a certain level that was considered to be okay for human consumption. And it's the same thing with like a fig Newton or anything like that. If you look at that under the microscope, there's lots of pieces of bugs under it. It's just like it's impossible to pick that amount of tomatoes and not get bugs mixed in with it.
I don't even think I added this story for this week, but this hiker was missing for a couple of days and he survived the days he was missing on eating bugs.
Well, you
So,
do what you got to do. Sometimes you have to eat a person, sometimes you have to eat a bug.
I mean, some cultures eat bugs. Like, it's not that far fetched. It's not ideal if you don't like it, but it's like, it's not like they spilled a chemical on the nuts and they were selling them. It's part of
Oh, I
nature.
saw this video of this some delicacy. I don't know where it was exactly. It was somewhere like not in America, I'll say that, right? There was this like log that was floating in the ocean and the people cut the log in half and inside are like these worm things and I don't know if they're a sea creature or if they're a worm or what they are, but they're like these white gelatinous looking worms and people were taking them out of the holes and like eating them alive.
That's reminding me of the animation of the Lion King when they're like eating the bugs. I don't know, that
Yeah,
just popped in my mind.
yeah,
So
exactly.
gross.
That's what it was like and it was like some delicacy or something and I'm like, no thanks.
To quote my mom, if that's what you like. Um, all right, guys, we have the Atlanta meet and greet coming up on July 11th, and then we have a crime and wine at the Georgia's Writer Museum on July 12th, both hosted by the wonderful Zone 7 host Cheryl McMcCullum.
Yeah, so you'll
Um,
get to meet her too, which I would go just to meet her, not me, but Maria's going to be there and I'm going to have books for sale so we can sign books. It'll be awesome and a good lecture too.
yeah, we're going to have a really good time. So tickets for that can be found at the description of this episode or in the gross room or on our social media. Please head over to Apple and Spotify and leave us a review. Head over to YouTube and subscribe. And as always, if you have a story for us, please submit it to stories@motherknowsdeath.com. Especially email it to us because Instagram has been extra horrible with us getting messages recently, so I don't see a lot of them. All right, well, we will see you guys tomorrow.
See ya. Thank you for listening to Mother Knows Death. As a reminder, my training is as a pathologist assistant. I have a master's level education and specialize in anatomy and pathology education. I am not a doctor and I have not diagnosed or treated anyone, dead or alive, without the assistance of a licensed medical doctor. This show, my website, and social media accounts are designed to educate and inform people based on my experience working in pathology so they can make healthier decisions regarding their life and well-being. Always remember that science is changing every day and the opinions expressed in this episode are based on my knowledge of those subjects at the time of publication. If you are having a medical problem, have a medical question, or are having a medical emergency, please contact your physician or visit an urgent care center, emergency room, or hospital. Please rate, review, and subscribe to Mother Knows Death on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, or anywhere you get podcasts. Thanks.